All right, what's going on, guys? So I just wanted to hop on here real quick and share some of my thoughts about the Pocket 6K. Throughout the whole video, I'm just going to go ahead and roll some footage over the top so you can get an idea of what it looks like. That's really what everybody wants to see in the first place. So I rented this camera just because I'm a gear nerd, camera nerd. I've seen a lot of people talk about the Blackmagic Pocket cameras, and I just wanted to test it out. I wanted to see what it was all about. So when I first got the package, I thought the camera was pretty big. It's definitely bigger than what I was used to with the A6300, but it wasn't too heavy. It was actually lighter than I thought, and it's just kind of a weird size, just kind of wide. But yeah, it's not too heavy at all. Now, I'm kind of going to go over a few of the things that people constantly say that are negative about the pocket cameras. One being the battery life. Now, I only rented the camera with just one battery, and depending on what you shoot, it's gonna vary. So I kind of just took the camera out. I took it to a basketball game and I shot some stuff there. I took it to, just down by the river and did a quick little river walk and took some clips there. And then, just walking around the apartment. And for the most part, the battery was good enough. Obviously, if you are going to be doing something a little more long form, you might want to have additional batteries or V-mount or plug directly into the wall, which is what I ended up doing for one of the mock interviews that I used the camera on. So you kind of just got to figure out the way you're going to shoot it and then figure out what's going to work best for you. Now, the autofocus, I kind of was curious about that, being that it doesn't have really any autofocus, not continuous autofocus. Not like the Sonys, which what I'm shooting on right now, it's what I'm used to. But I found that not having the autofocus was not that big a deal to me. I actually found to start enjoying shooting everything in manual focus. It felt like, I was more involved in the process of making the video, if that makes any sense. And I was able to pinpoint exactly where I wanted the focus, because a lot of times on my Sony, I'll be shooting and something will kind of pop into the frame and it'll focus on that. And, it just it's a little bit frustrating sometimes. So I didn't have an issue just shooting all manual focus. I kind of actually had fun with it. So another thing, it does have like a single point autofocus, which was pretty useful. I kind of would just point that, do a little single point, so it would get me in the general area of what I was trying to focus on, and then I would just dial it in from there. So the file sizes though, that was not really anything that I was expecting it, but they were bigger than I thought. I've seen all the videos, everybody talks about how big the files are, how crazy the file sizes are, and so I was a little bit prepared for that, but I didn't kind of get like the full extent of it. So, I was shooting like 10-second clips, 15-second clips, and it was coming out to like 1 gig, 1.5 gigs, crazier than I thought it was going to be. The places that I found it to be an issue was when I was transferring the footage over from like the SD card to my iPad and editing it on there. The transfer could take a little bit of time, so that is something to keep in mind. What I did eventually, a couple days into the rental, I went to Best Buy and I picked up the Samsung T5 SSD, and then I just mounted that on top of the camera, and then I shot all of the rest of the footage directly to that. And then once that was done, I would just take the SSD and plug it straight into the iPad, and I was able to edit footage right away. Now, I thought that was really cool. I like that workflow, being able to just kind of take the SSD, put it into your iPad or editing or whatever you're editing on, and start editing right away. And you don't have to wait for that transfer time that can take a while depending on how much footage you're trying to move over. I did find the camera to be pretty easy to use. Everybody talks about the simplistic or very user-friendly software interface that Blackmagic has. I definitely agree with that. Everything's laid out real well. The touch screen, you can just tap on the different options that you want to pull up, and it's very intuitive, and you can kind of find what you're looking for right away. Again, on the Sony, a little bit different. File menu structure is a little weird, but I did find that the Pocket was pretty easy to use. Some of the things that I enjoy with the camera are just a little of some of the littler features that make it a dedicated video camera. So I did like false color. I liked messing around with false color a little bit. That was fun to just kind of, I've never really messed around with that in terms of judging exposure. So that was fun. The big screen on the back is great. I like having the screen. It's very color accurate. It's a nice big screen, so you can kind of get an idea what your image is going to look like, more so than on some of the smaller screens that are on the mirrorless cameras. Now I know some people have issues with the screen, that it's not bright enough. I kind of agree. When I was out shooting with it in bright sunlight, it did make it a little bit difficult to judge the exposure, judge focus. It's just not as bright as I would maybe want, but there's definitely workarounds for that. Also, it doesn't move, it doesn't hinge, doesn't swivel, doesn't flip up. Anything is just kind of fixed on the back of the camera. So that can make it a little bit difficult if you're trying to get like different angle shots, if you're not right behind the camera. So that is definitely something to keep in mind with that. But ultimately, what it comes down to is the image quality. And even though I was only shooting in 4K ProRes, just because of the kind of editing workflow that I currently have, I definitely noticed a big difference between the pocket footage and the Sony footage. For whatever reason, the pocket footage just looks a lot more full, a lot more rich. I don't know, it just felt more cinematic, which is, stupid term, but it just felt like there was something more to it. That's not to say the Sony footage is bad, but I definitely do see the big step up that everybody talks about when you are shooting on the pocket cameras and their overall image quality. So I don't really know yet whether or not I'm going to end up getting the pocket. I probably get the 6K just because EF mount. We have a bunch of EF lenses around here, so we could just pop it straight on. But I don't know. It's going to require me kind of revamping my workflow, so I just haven't really decided if that's something I want to do. So anyway, I don't want this video to be too long. I just wanted to hop on here real quick, talk a little bit about my thoughts on the pocket, just kind of generally what I thought about it. Let me know what you guys think. If you're thinking about getting the pocket, if you have the pocket, if you're thinking about switching from the pocket to something else, just let me know. I like to chat with everybody about cameras and gear and everything. So appreciate you checking out the video, and I'll catch you in the next one.